Hey everyone, this is Ritesh Patel from Nirmata, and today I wanted to share with you a quick demo on how Nirmata works with Amazon EKS. So in Nirmata, you can provision clusters or you can discover existing clusters. To provision clusters using EKS, you need to first create a cloud provider, and this is where you would set up your credentials for to enable Nirmata to access AWS APIs. Once the cloud provider is set up, you can go to the clusters panel and click on the add cluster button. Here you can see all the different options for provisioning the cluster. So we're going to select the create an EKS cluster option and fill out all the details. So you can see the once I specify the cloud provider, a lot of the information, a lot of the settings from the cloud for my cloud account are pulled down in Nirmata. So you can see the VPCs, you can see the networks, security groups, and so on. So now we'll set up the worker nodes. So here we'll first select the security group for the worker nodes, the instance type. So I'll select the medium instance type. The image ID is I'll use a default image ID, so I don't need to specify the image, and I can specify the capacity for the cluster, the number of worker nodes that I need, and then finally the SSH key for the worker nodes. So when I click next, Nirmata will go ahead and start provisioning the cluster, and you can actually see the progress of the cluster provisioning on the screen. And typically, it takes about 10 minutes or so for the cluster to get completely provisioned and to get onboarded into Nirmata. Also, once the cluster is provisioned, Nirmata will add any policies or any additional components like metric server, etc., to the cluster so that it can be managed and monitored through Nirmata. So let's wait for the cluster to come up. So we can quickly switch over to my EKS console and check if the cluster provisioning has started. So here you can see my EKS demo cluster is being provisioned and it's currently being created. You can see that the control plane has now been provisioned, and now we'll go ahead and provision the worker node. So that may take another few minutes. Now you can see the cluster provisioning has completed, and I can click on view cluster details to actually look at my cluster. So I can see the version, the endpoint, and at this point Nirmata is looking uh, connecting to the cluster and discovering the nodes and some of the other cluster components. So that typically takes a few seconds, and then you should see the cluster go into ready state. So you can see that the cluster is now in ready state, and then on the cluster dashboard you can see the cluster availability and some of the other details of the cluster, including the health of the components as well as the nodes. You can also see if any alerts or alarms on the cluster, as well as an estimate of the cost. And then you can drill down into the various resources like namespace, pods, etc. for your cluster over here. And then you can deploy any add-ons to your cluster if needed. So this was a quick demo of provisioning EKS clusters through Nirmata. Nirmata can also provision clusters on Azure as well as GKE on Google Cloud. So if you want to try out Nirmata, you can sign up for free at www.nirmata.io, and you can test drive Nirmata And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us through the support link. Thank you.